Wait. So the first episode of This Is Fromage was actually supposed to be about Gorgonzola cheese, but I realized a little too late that something was not quite right about that first cheese. Yeah, let's revisit Gorgonzola. Cue title. So a little note about mold, because that was one of the first things I showed on this video. I tend to play on the more conservative side when it comes to extra mold that builds on cheese. My general rule is that if there's extra cheese on top of your cheese, it's probably not safe to eat. There's definitely guidelines and stuff on the internet that you can view, and I find that after doing some internet research that everyone's a little bit different. But as for me personally, I tend to be more conservative, and I just try to avoid any cheese that I think will give me a stomachache. Despite my experience, it was actually a really interesting and very good tasting cheese, and so I decided it was time to try it again, get into the blue family cheeses, and yeah, give it a go. So here it is. There's the Cremiziola Gorgonzola. So one thing I realized when trying to do research on this particular Gorgonzola is that actually there's quite a number of Gorgonzola, because I was trying to find this particular type, the Cremiziola Gorgonzola, and when I tried to Google it, actually I didn't get many results. I got results for like creamy Gorgonzola sauce and other stuff, but nothing in particular. I had to find specific terms in order to find some stuff, which showed me that actually there's quite a bit of different variations of Gorgonzola, because I could see from the pictures that there were some that looked a little bit more orange, some that had a bit more blue, some with a different rind, and it was just really interesting to see all the different types of Gorgonzola. And so Gorgonzola is within the blue cheese family, and I'd say it's like a subset of the blue cheese family, and as I discovered within that, there's even variations on Gorgonzola. The one we're looking at today is a Cremiziola Gorgonzola, as I mentioned, and this one is kind of its own unique thing. I got it from the local grocery store, the Save on Foods, and the packaging unfortunately doesn't show a lot of information. Yeah, there's really not a lot to go off of. The creamery is unknown. The country of origin is also unknown. There's no info on that one. I think it's an Italian cheese, but I can't see that for sure. I did have to go to another website which described it, the milk, as being from cow. I think that's the only information I'm able to get. Otherwise, we can confirm, of course, it is a Gorgonzola cheese. Let's talk a little bit more about the cheese itself. Alright, so the interesting thing about this cheese is the scent, actually. So when I opened the package at first, I got this whole kind of face full of cheese smell, and it was very strong at first. So when I wrote it down, it was initially a strong to medium cheese, but now that it's had a chance to settle down, it's actually really, there's not much smell to it. It's very slight. So for some reason it builds up, I think, smell when it's in containment, but when it's open, then there's not really much of a smell. So I find that really interesting that it's, we're looking at a very slight smell cheese. Now, we're gonna jump into the aroma actually early on this one, because the smell of the cheese is, the best way I can put this is that it smells stinky, kind of like a blue cheese stinky. That is, the best way I can put it is kind of like an old shoe. It's an acquired smell aroma for sure. Not everyone's gonna love it, but I think that if you kind of can get past it and get to the flavors, I think you'll really appreciate this cheese. But definitely it's got that signature kind of blue cheese smell, but yeah, surprisingly it's not as strong as I thought it would be. Now, in regards to the texture, I've actually let this sit out for a little bit to try to bring it up to room temperature, because it did come from the fridge, and despite it has a bit of a mixed texture. So there are some sections where it is a bit more oozy and gooey, almost like a glue, but there are also other sections where it's a little bit more hard and firm. So I'm going to put this as like a semi-soft. overall. But just note that while some sections are very creamy and gooey, there's also some very hard sections in the cheese, which I thought was really interesting. Now, with regards to the appearance of the cheese, which actually deals with texture, they do have the cheese itself is very kind of like a creamy off-white color, accented by some of these looks like almost like a green color, but they're the blue streaks typical of a blue cheese. The rind itself is kind of like an kind of a light, very light sandy brown, and has a little bit of a texture to it. I did a little bit of research on this because I wasn't too sure about the rind, but again, not a lot of information. But from what I could accumulate, it seems like maybe on a conservative basis, you don't really want to eat the rind. It's dry, and it is a little hard, kind of semi-soft, much like the cheese. Okay, so now onto the tasting section where we're gonna try this cheese, and let's see what. Oh, it's a mixture of things. I'm trying to decipher all of it. I definitely get a sense of earthiness, a little bit of like not a soil type flavor, but definitely there's a bit of like an earth sense to it. Definitely getting some pretty strong butter scent. I think actually it's very buttery. That's kind of how I'm feeling it. How I'm tasting it right now. Definitely in conjunction, there's the butteriness. There's also the mold aspect, which is obviously the green parts. So they kind of intermix when you eat it to get this butteriness mixed with a bit of the moldy aspect. The moldy being the aspect from the green cheese, the blue cheese. To create this very interesting type of taste to it. There's definitely quite a bit of saltiness, actually. I initially put it as low. I'm going to put it a little bit higher to maybe like a medium in terms of saltiness. And there's definitely also a bit of like a lactic taste as well, so a bit of milkiness as well. Overall, a very interesting cheese for sure. I'm going to try some more. In terms of mouthfeel, it's definitely interesting because there's two or three different types of textures playing at the same time. So you have the, I'm gonna say the soft, gooey sections of the cheese. That is the white part of the cheese, which can also be actually a little bit more firm as well. So a little bit gooey, a little bit soft, and then accentuated by the blue cheese veins that are occurring in the cheese to give it not necessarily a crunch, but a bit more of like an additional texture, a bit more firmness to those sections. Yeah, so there's a lot going on in terms of the mouthfeel for sure. So I saw on Instagram that actually if you mix this cheese with a bit of honey or drizzle some honey on it, it actually makes it this really good combination. Okay, now let's try this cheese, dip it in honey. I'm sensing that the honey kind of neutralizes the kind of the sharpness and a little bit of flavor. You kind of melt together to create this very interesting mixture. From a cheese purist perspective, I would say that you do lose the full taste of the cheese, but if you want to use it in combination with something else, then actually the honey goes really well with it. I've also seen online that you can use this for like maybe some mac and cheese, maybe some pastas as well, and some other stuff where you might require a kind of a mild blue cheese, I mean. I think that we've only scratched the surface with regards to blue cheese, and even within the Gorgonzola family itself. This Cremiziola Gorgonzola is kind of a mild take on blue cheese, I would say, but still has a strong enough accents to be able to provide some really interesting flavors, some really interesting textures, and to be something that you can be eaten on its own, as well as noted with some other things as well. Overall, still a fun cheese. Definitely enjoying my journey into the blue cheese, and looking forward to actually a little bit more Gorgonzola as well. Feel free to pick it up when you do see it, and if you are able to find more information as to where this Cremiziola Gorgonzola comes from, do let me know. I'm just going to start cutting this cheese so I can eat the rest of it. But thank you very much for watching. And if you have any other cheeses that you think you'd like me to try out and to test, feel free to comment below. Like and subscribe, all the usual stuff, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.
purposes. But this the cheese from us. We want the cheese. No, Gollum. No, we don't want the cheese. Yes, we do. We want the cheese.